through the state process, which is a 4-tiered system with 20 days in between each one, and the school days. And by finding out there was a lot of not school days, and they were getting spread out. But I used the media. I learned right then and there. I had the media with me because I explained about it to the judge like he hadn't heard anything about AIDS, and the press is picking up on it. The parents refused to listen to anything I'd say, you know, at the school. And so the judge comes and he says, well, I'm going to rule that he has to go back and use his state system. And I interrupted. I said, Judge, he has AIDS. He could die tomorrow. I said, how can you send me through a system but if I get through with it, the snow will fly. And he needs to be in school now. That's the only thing he wants to do is go to school. Is that so much of a demand for somebody who's going to die to say, I want to go to school? How many kids would say, I don't want to go to school? And all he cared about was school. And I make this plea to him, and he said, well, no, he says, that won't ever happen. And he puts me through this system, of the 4-tiered system. The first one was in front of the school nurse. Well, I'm going to lose that. The school is against him. And the second one was with the school principal. So I tell him, I'll weigh both arguments. And the third one was in front of a state system of some kind. It was a state judge. It wasn't a true jury trial. It was the state committee I had to go in front of, and she was a judge, so she was a legitimate judge. But no, they wouldn't do it. I had to do it. But I could use the press now. When the days were there, I'd tell everybody, this is when it's going to be, and the judge is going to hear it, and the judge was swarmed with phone calls. He couldn't get out of the dates, so he had to keep them. So and the press helped me at every turn. I knew I had a media case. It was apparent to me after that first hearing, like, I got a media case here, and I've got to give my time to them because they're going to help me. And I knew the cause. By the time I got out of that hearing, I knew the cause was big. I knew this was going to be a big case.
Did you ever think that it was beyond your comprehension to capably handle?
Mm-mm. I guess I'm too stupid.
I doubt that. But you know, it's just human nature.
Yeah, I know. But I've always had a lot of confidence. And well, after my dad died, the first case I'm on an airplane alone flying to sue Mayo Clinic.
Tired of watching the same old things on TV? Something new is on the horizon. The ISC Sports Network. Contact your cable provider today to add the ISC Sports Network. See the big games, the big moments, the championships, and more from all across the state. High schools, colleges, original content you can't find anywhere else. On the ISC Sports Network, it's all here. Find out more information at iscsportsnetwork.com.
There is something for everyone to love at Mulberry Pizza King. We have fresh salads, hot sandwiches, frozen treats, and fountain drinks. And of course, pizza! Always made to order and cooked in our ovens until your pizza is fit for a king. So come see why we've been a Mulberry tradition since 1974. Dine in at 137 South Glick Street in Mulberry or call 765-296-2344 to place a carry-out order.
Defining Looks is a full-service wig and hair salon. We offer shampoo, cut, color, and styling for wigs and hair. Whether your situation is medical or cosmetic, our goal is to help you every step of the way in this emotional process. Let Defining Looks help you create your signature look. Schedule a consultation at defininglooks.com. Defining Looks, located on Sagamore Parkway North, next to Home Depot.
Thomas Phoenix Lawn and Garden is your local Husqvarna dealer. With us, you'll find a knowledgeable staff that's able to provide quick turnaround service so your business doesn't have to stop. From zero-turn mowers to trimmers and chainsaws, Husqvarna has you covered. And with the fleet program, the more you buy, the more you get in return. With that kind of stability, you can rely on us for the long haul. Get your Husqvarna equipment today at Thomas Phoenix Lawn and Garden, located at 6292 West County Road 0 in Frankfort.
Arthur will line it up with a right-footed sidewinder with a half a minute remaining in overtime. A hitter, a shot, and a goal!
Oh my goodness, a buzzer beater.
To Bailey Arthur, cross on the plate of number 7, Robbie Capehart. 28 seconds remaining in the second overtime, and the Maroon and Gold take a 1-0 lead. What a shot!
Unbelievable play. Just a slip head to the far post, just caught Allen off guard. Comes to the near post. And, you know, we're talking about a buzzer beater here. Just comes in, just near post. Absolutely unbelievable. Just couldn't quite, the designs just couldn't quite get the mark on it. Fantastic finish.
Fourth goal of the season
Beats
for
the
Capehart,
defender.
Coach.
Beats the defender near post, gets to the ball first, one touch, and that is going to be the ball game.
We are down now.
Unbelievable.
Down.
The Ryan White case actually began in the mid-1980s.
Yeah.
June of 85 is
85.
when you filed the appeal. So then,
No, it wasn't an appeal. I just filed it.
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
okay.
Okay. It was
What
in
finally?
August.
What
yeah.
what finally transpired
Well, it
that
got,
the school said, okay, we'll let him in?
no, they never said that.
They never said that.
No, they never said
But
that.
he did go to school there for a year, didn't he?
Not quite a year. He went there. He finished out the year. It was probably into December before he got into school. The snow did fly the day he went in. That I was writing my prediction to the judge. The snow was on the ground when he went in. And but what happened was I finally got the case. I tried we had the examiner when I went in front of that. She ruled that he should be put in school, and so then he gets in school. But this is October or something. It was later because it was 9 months before he finally got in, as I recall, and so he gets in, and he's there one day, and the parents file a lawsuit to oust him because they said he was a danger to their kids and they shouldn't be there in the Kokomo court, and this is in front of this Kokomo judge, and he tells me that they filed it, and that same day he's going to have a hearing on it. And that's impossible, you know. And he says, well, you better be here at 2 o'clock because that's the hearing, so I had to cancel everything. And it's just unheard of to do that, you know. And I thought, wow, I got a problem judge here. I know that from the start. And so we go there, and then here was their case. They put the doctor that examined me on the stand and said, does Ryan White have AIDS? And he said, yes. And they said, no further questions. I couldn't believe it, you know. And I said, now, you're the health examiner, right? He said, yes. I said, did you examine Ryan White? Yes. Did you find that Ryan White would do no harm to the students if he was admitted after your examination? Yes. And would it do any harm to him by being in the classroom with them? No. And what was your recommendation? My recommendation is he be admitted to the classroom. That's their witness, you know. So it was a pretty short hearing. What else am I going to say? And then we start the legal argument to the judge, and the act said, one with a communicable disease cannot be admitted to the classroom unless A, B, and C, well, examined by the current county health officer and approved by him to enter the classroom. This is the exception. And the judge says, I'm going to rule that he can't go. And he said, how can you do that? You know, I just spoke up. I said, how can you do that? We've given you this. He said, well, it says no one with a communicable disease can be admitted to the classroom. I said, and? He says, no, there is no and. I said, it's an exception. A, B, and C, the exception. And he was examined by the health officer, county health officer, and he was recommended to be admitted to the classroom. He's met the statute in all respects. How can you do this? He said, because I can't get by the first line. And I looked at him and I said, where'd you go to law school? And that wasn't too popular with the judge, and he was very pompous about it. And he says, "That's my ruling." And with that, all these parents cheer, and here's her poor Ryan sitting there, not knowing exactly what all's happening, knowing that we lost, you know. And I stood up, and I was mad as could be at the judge, and I said, "Don't cheer too loud. This is not over." And I said, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself." And I said, "I'm not going to say anything else, or this judge will put me in jail." And I just stormed out of the courtroom.
Okay, so to move along because of time restraints,
Yeah,
he goes to school, but it wasn't a pleasant experience
that's right.
for him.
Yeah, they didn't treat him very well.
So then he decides, maybe we ought to go to another school.
Yeah.
And how did it come that they wound up moving to Cicero and going to Hamilton Heights High School?
I think that they went over and talked to the principal or somebody, and they said they understood the whole story.
That would have been Mr. Stan Cook, who's now a state representative.
Yeah, I think that's right. And he was very welcoming, and then he did a marvelous job he called the assembly and said that Ryan was going to come and advised him, and he said he's going to come tomorrow. And they all came outside of the school, and when he came, they were all outside of school and greeted him. Happiest moment of his life.
And a happy moment for you, too.
Oh, happy moment, yeah.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't there, but I heard about it, and when I heard that well, there was pictures of the school there. It made me feel so good, you know. And let me tell you a little Michael Jackson story. Is it going to take too long?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to do it quick.
Is this during the? I also want to say that you literally had. Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell the Michael Jackson story.
Well, I get this call, and somebody says, "We understand. We have a friend who thinks highly of Ryan, and is there anything he needs?" I said, "I don't know. I'll call and find out, and they get back to you." And it was a lawyer, and I said his phonograph broke, and he'd like to get another one. Oh, he said, "That's fine." And I don't hear anything. And about 10 days later, this truck pulls up, and it's got speakers about 6 feet tall, and all the electricians, they came in, and they set this system up for him, and it was fabulous.
Came from Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it came. And so then I get a call. He said, "Mr. Vaughn, have you talked to Ryan?" I said, "Yeah." He called and said that somebody sent him something they can't even imagine. They had sent electricians along, and they set it all up. It's a sound system like you can't believe. And they were just startled. And he said, "Well, I'll tell you, that was Michael Jackson." And he said, "Michael would like to have his phone number, and he'd like to talk to him." I said, "That'd be fine. I'm sure he'd like to talk to him." And so I gave him the number, and they talked almost every day. Do you know that? Almost every day. And he went out there 3 different times to his place with Jeannie and his sister, and Michael treated him great.
So, unfortunately, Ryan White was unable to attend a prom because of his health, unable to graduate from Hamilton Heights High School, and he died in April of 1990.
That's right.
Tell us about the funeral in Indianapolis, how big an event it was, so to speak.
All right, well, when Ryan died, Elton John came in. He'd gotten word that he was very ill, and he took the top of the hotel, put guards at each end, and he said he was there to tell Ryan either walked out or they carried him out. Because Jeannie asked him, "How long are you going to stay?" And that was
So
his
he was
answer.
going to stay in Indianapolis all that time.
Yeah, all that time. He'd canceled a big opening he was supposed to have over in England. And so when he died, he said to Jeannie he'd take care of the funeral arrangements, because Jeannie wouldn't have any idea, because this was a big funeral. And they had cars in the parking lot, and you had the big reserve section of people so that they could get in. And Michael Jackson, Donald Trump, and Michael Jackson, Trump. Who else was in that plane?
Elton John even performed.
Elton John performed, yeah. Elton John ran the whole thing, and they had, I think, like 12 policemen planned for it, and Elton said, "I need 20 more." You know, and he had every crossing when you went from there to where they buried him, which was about.
Which he's buried in the Cicero Cemetery.
That's right, and it's I'd say 12 miles maybe, I don't know, but every crossing. Well, first at the funeral, Elton John got up and had a piano there, and he played the piano, and then he did that Candle in the Wind and with Ryan, you know, but life burned out. The candle went out too soon. There wasn't a dry tear in that place. It was just quite a funeral, and so then they had the procession to go to where was it now?
Cicero.
Cicero. I couldn't think Cicero, and the funeral procession's going, and now we're on 31, and it's as busy as can be, and all the traffic on the other side of the road. Of course, our side, they had motorcycles everywhere. Every crossing was handled by motorcycles ahead of time. And the traffic stopped all the way to Cicero. They all stopped, got out of their cars. They'd be kneeling down, and it was just a scene. Put their hand over their heart, and it was
amazing.
It was sad.
You know, Charlie, I'm sure that you realize the impact of this case globally, because you fielded media inquiries at all hours of the day from all over the world.
Yeah.
How has it made you feel? I mean, obviously, you've just shown that.
Well, I knew I had a case that's going to change the world, and you know, it's a little bit of responsibility to think you're going to change the world about something.
Huge.
And I knew that I alone, if I did this right, could fix it so there could be no discrimination against an AIDS patient. Mm-hmm. And that's a responsibility that's hard to sleep on, you know. And so I knew the more I got it to other people in other countries, I talked every noon. I'd close down for calls to me, except for calls about Ryan, and I'd give interviews from 12 to 2. Africa, foreign languages, I didn't even know what was saying, didn't have an interpreter, but this went on 5 days a week for weeks, you know, and I knew it's going all over the world, and so you know, you got to win this thing, you know, mm-hmm. You don't have any choice, and I guess the fact that it was pro bono. I mean, I was never going to charge him. And
well, Charlie, in 1987, you were named the Indiana Trial Lawyer of the Year. Mm-hmm. In 1998, the same organization gave you the Lifetime Achievement Award. And in between that time, August of 1990, Congress enacted and signed the Ryan White Care Act, the largest federally funded program for people living with HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the funny thing, the only person that I was surprised at, and I loved Ronald Reagan, but Ronald Reagan never once talked about AIDS, never mentioned AIDS. Now here's the whole world talking about it, and he wouldn't talk about it.
Do you think maybe it was more so in defense of Reagan, given his age and the era that he came from?
I think so.
That he was poorly educated about it too, and
yeah,
didn't want to tread into water that he was unfamiliar with?
I don't think he ever investigated. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think he just said, "I'm not going to go there." You know, one of those. But it finally, I think, went there when I filed under the Freedom of Information Act with the CDC. I wanted to know how many hemophiliacs they'd tested during a certain period of time, and how many were positive for AIDS. And to say the least, it was shocking. I'm not going to give the number. But the CDC, I was threatening because I wasn't getting the help I thought from the CDC, and I was pressing on them to do something they weren't doing. That's when I filed that Freedom of Information Act, and he said, under the Freedom of Information Act, he had to give me the answer, and he said, I'll call you back in an hour. And he called and he said, I'm going to give you the answer you want. But he said, this is really beyond me. And he said, this is at the top. He said, now what's the top? But I think you got a good idea what the top is. And if you tell this information, if you put this information out, I think it's going to be terrible for the country. I just